Good day everyone, you're welcome to Joidala Fashion Guide. I am Joidala. In today's video we are going to be making a 2-plate kaftan bubu. I'm going to be using this paper to demonstrate how to fold the fabric, because the fabric is very long. So if you have a fabric like this, you want to fold this way, like this. First, not like this. Okay, don't fold it like this. You get the full length of the fabric. To determine your full length depends on the measurement that I'm working with. The length I'm working with is 60 inches. Then you want to add allowances to that to fold it at the down. So I'm adding 2.5 inches allowance to that, and then I have a total of 125 inches. So I have a length of 125 inches. So you cut it out. So I've already cut mine out. So for this you need about 3.5 yards to 4 yards of fabric depending on your measurements. So once you cut your fabric out like this, then you fold it into two like this. You fold the width side into two, leaving the full length like this. After which, you don't fold here into two like this. So that way, you have the front pattern, then the back pattern. So this becomes the front, and then this is the back. So that is how I folded this fabric. This African print. So you see it. This is for the front, and then this is for the back. So I'm going to be making use of the width of this fabric, and there is no joining at the shoulder. So first you want to determine the shoulder, half of the shoulder measurement. You're working the shoulder of 15, half of that is 7.5. You mark your 7.5. And then for the pleat, you need 10 inches for the pleat. And then I'm going to use this leftover as my sleeve. So there will be no cutting on the shoulder line. I'm going to be making an embroidery on the neckline. So after cutting the neckline, we send it for embroidery. Then when we return back, we'll continue with our pattern. So to do that, you have to mark out the neck measurement. The neck width I'm working with is 3.5 inches. So you mark 3.5 inches. The front and the back neckline in the front piece. So the neckline is 3.5. I said the shoulder measurement, half of the shoulder is 7.5. So the neckline is 3.5. Then the back neckline, we're going to use 1.5 inch for the depth. You can use your free hand to curve that, or use your French curve if you have one. And then the front neckline, we are going to make that 4.5 inches. So it depends on what you want. So 4.5 inches deep. And then I'm going to use the French curve to make that to the neckline. It's going to be a round neckline. So connect it like so. And this is for the back. And then the front part is going to have a slit. It's going to have a 3-inch slit or opening. So from this 4.5, I'll just mark 3 inches. So you could do 3 inches, you could do 2.5. So depending on what you want. So I'm making my 3 inches. So that is just all for the neckline. Then we cut. So I'm going to cut the back and the front together first. And then to cut the front, you have to open up the fabric. Open it up like this. So you see the reason why we have to fold it the way we fold it is so that it will be easy for you to open it. So this is the back piece and this is the front piece. So you just open it up like so. And then we cut the front neckline. And then we cut here open up to this point. So we are through with the neckline. You just open it up for you to see what it looks like. So this is what the neckline looks like. So we'll send it to a embroidery now so they can put the neck design. So when we return back, we'll continue with our measurements. And then this is the front piece. Assuming this is the front and this is the back. To cut the neckline, we are not going to be sewing the shoulder. We're going to leave it like that. So you want to take your shoulder measurement divided by 2. So just assume this is my shoulder measurement. Mind you, you don't need to add any seam around because you are not going to be cutting it. Okay, so just mark our shoulder measurement, and we are not doing any 1-inch slant because we don't intend to cut this. So just mark your shoulder measurement and then the neck measurement. For the back, you can use a neck depth of 2 inches or 1.5. So depending, so assume we are using 2 inches. And then for the front, you can use 5 inches or 4.5. And then the front is going to have a slit, so you can make the front 4.5, and then the slit will be 3 inches long, or according to your preference. You can use a French cuff to mark the neckline or use your free hands. So this is for the back neckline, and then this is for the front neckline. So we'll cut front and back together first to get the back, and then we'll open it to cut the front. So for the back neckline, we just cut like this. So after cutting the back neckline, you open your fabric like this and cut the front. So that is the reason why we had to fold it the way we folded it, so that it will be easy for us to just lift it. And then for the front neckline, you want to open the slits. My slit is 3 inches long. You can make it as long as you want. So once you have gotten this, you go ahead and take a piece of the fabric and cut the facing for the fabric. Okay, to cut the facing, so to cut the facing, you get a piece of the fabric, fold it into 2 like this. Place it on them. So you make sure that it covers the opening side as well. It gets to the opening. Okay. And then you trace the neckline. You also do the slits. And you can now go ahead and shape. So this is how the facing will look like. So these are the facing will look like. And open it. It fits round the neck. And it sits. Use your pin to secure it down, and then just sew with 1/2 inch. Sew for like this, and then okay. After sewing like that, you notch around this neck area. Notch it so that you can flip this inside. Okay, so that is how to do the necking. So if you're going to do knitting, after cutting the neckline like this, you send it for embroidery or knitting, and then you're going to have something like this. So when you bring it back, before you continue marking out where the pleat will be. So I'm going to use this to explain the pleats. Now, the width of the fabric that you need is 1/4 of your hip measurement. You need 1/4 of your hip measurement. That is hip divided by 4 plus the inches for the pleat, and depends on how wide the pleat will be. The pleat is going to be 2.5 inches wide. Because it's folded, that will be 5, and we are going to have 2. That will be 10. So 10 inches for the pleat. So if yours is going to be 2 inches wide, By the time you fold it, that means it will be 4, and if you're having 2, it will be 8. So that means you'll be adding 8 for pleat. And then you are still going to have the sleeve, the length of the sleeve. Now, because this fabric is by 45 and we are folded into 2, so after subtracting the shoulder and the pleat, you just use the leftover for the sleeve. But if you want the sleeve to be longer, then you can add fabric to this side. Just add more fabric to make it long. Okay, so the hip divided by 4 plus what you're going to have for the pleat, and then because it's a kaftan, it's a bubu, you need ease. It's not going to be tight, so you need between 2 inches or 3 inches for ease. So if, for example, your hip is 40 divided by 4, that will give us 10, plus 10 inches for pleat, plus 3 inches for ease, and then plus 1 inches for seam allowance. This is for ease. So at the end of the day, you're going to have 24 inches. You're going to have 24 inches wide. But for me, I'm just going to make use of what I have here. So that is how to calculate the amount of fabric that you need. And then I will advise that finish your folding, your pleating and all before you cut the armhole area out, so that you don't have any shortage. But you can go ahead and mark it, but don't cut until you are through with the pleat. So to mark our pleat, so it's always good to iron so that you can have the center piece here. Remember, we have already marked our neckline, so you determine where the pleat will begin from. For me, I'm not going to start the pleat at the edge of the shoulder measurement. I'm going to come in by 1 inch. I'll come in by 1 inch before I start the pleat. And because this is paper, I'm going to be doing, my pleat is going to be 1.5 inches wide. But on this fabric, my pleat is going to be 2.5 inches wide. So this is the initial shoulder measurement. You come in by 1 inch. From there, you mark the length, the width of your pleat. So we are going to make ours 1.5, which is 3 inches. So from there, you mark 3 inches like this. And then take note, the beginning was 6. So the thing around top. So I said where you want to mark from the middle, and mark the shoulder measurement, subtract 1 from it, so I can relax wear on your shoulder. After marking the shoulder measurement, you mark the width of the pleat. So mine is going to be 1.5, which is 3 inches wide. So you mark it, and we are going to be having 2. So you can mark the 2 at the same time. And then use the ruler to connect it. Mind you, are going to be using your chalk to mark. So this remaining part will be for the sleeve. So that's how you are going to mark it depending on the width you are working with. If you want a width of 2 inches, it means you are going to be marking 4. If you want a width of 2.5, you are going to be marking 5. So for this paper, I'm making use of 1.5. So I've marked 3 inches because of the paper we have. Then you open it up and continue on this side. Okay, still from the middle. So that is the essence of folding in lengthwise like this, so that it will be easy for you to mark. So this is just one side of the kaftan. When you are through, you turn it over and you also mark the other side like this. Okay, so that by the time you open it up, this is what you are going to have. You are going to have lines here from the beginning of the fabric to the end lengthwise. Also, you're going to have from here to this side. So you take your time to mark it. And then at this point, you're going to need your pins. You need a lot of pins. So, to make it easier for you, you can just go to you pick the middle like this. Make sure the mark are matching. Make sure that this corresponds to this. Okay. And then you go and iron it. You iron it down. This is paper. I'm just going to use my hand to straighten it. So take it to the iron table. You iron it. You press it down like this. You see that? So that will make it easier for you. You iron it. You can also use your pins to hold it as well. But if you iron it, it will make it very easy. And then you take to the machine and sew along this line. From the beginning here, you sew to the end. So I'll use pin to hold it to show you what it will look like. So let's quickly complete the armhole before. Let me quickly explain how to. So let me quickly show you how to cut the armhole. Now for the armhole area, you just mark around the armhole. Measure around the armhole of the customer. If you have 20 divided by 2, that will be 10. the armhole round. You take the armhole round of the customer around here. Okay, so what you have, you divide it by 2. So assuming it is 10, so we assume it is 20, that will be 10. Okay, so let's assume that this is where mine is. So if your armhole round is 20 divided by 2, that will be 10. Then you add 1 inch to that, because we need seam allowance to sew this side. So whatever you have, don't forget armhole round divided by 2 plus 1. That is what you're going to mark from here to here. So you add 1 inch to it, and then you can come in from there by 2 inches depending on your measurements. You can come in by 2 or 1.5 inches. And just mark this down and get a nice curve here. So this is our armhole. So mind you, don't cut this out yet until you are through with the pleating, so that you don't have any shortages here. But you can just mark it down like this. So after pleating, this is what it would look like. So you are sewing that, this is how the pleat will look. Then you can now go ahead and make your second pleat. Okay, I've just formed the second one and show. So this is what the first pleat looks like. So after getting the first pleat like this, here's the first pleat. Then you're going to mark again. This line is going to be a guide for you. So from the middle, you see in between these 2 lines, you get the midpoint. So from there, mine, the middle is 1.5. If yours is 4 inches, that means 2. If yours is 5, that means 2.5. From there, you mark what you are working with. For me, I'm working with 3 inches. So from this middle, I'll mark out 3 inches again. I'll mark out 3 inches. If you like, you can roll it. And then this line that is left, remember when we did it, we marked out 3 inches. That is, we ruled 3 out. Now we have pleated this. Okay, we have pleated this. So in between here, you get the midpoint and mark from there again 3 inches. Okay, so when you want to pleat the second one, this line will be your guide. So this is what I mean. When you are now pleating the second one, this line will be your guide. You just fold your fabric along that line like this. Because you have already marked it. And then this will correspond to the middle here. So that is how to ensure that you have a straight line. And then you can go ahead and iron it as well. Iron, give it a good press. So when you want to sew this kaftan, make sure that you have access to iron. So you iron it down like this. Then after ironing, you take it to the machine. So this outline will guide you to sew. So you sew along here, straight down. I'm going to use pins to hold this to show you what it looks like. So yeah, true. This is what it's going to look like. So this is the first plate, and then this is the second plate. So it's a 2-plate kaftan. Remember, we sew here, we also sew here, and then you now have your sleeve area. So once you are through with one side like this, you do same for the other side. You fold, making sure that this line corresponds to this line. Just pick the middle like this. Make sure that they are matching. You can put a pin at that point to be sure that you have, to be sure that they are matching. You see, they are matching. So that is how you get it from beginning to the end. And then you take it, you go and iron it down. Press it down like this. You iron it down. After ironing, you take it to the machine and sew along this place. So I'm going to use pin to hold it as well. So this is what it will look like after sewing. Easy. And then from there, from the middle here, in between here, the way it ends from the middle here, you mark out 3 inches again. You mark it out, and then this line will serve as a guide for you to fold it. So you go ahead and fold again, forming the second pleat. This line will serve as a guide for you. And then you take it to the ironing table, you iron it down, you iron it, give it a good press. After that, you sew along this line. So I'm going to be using pins for mine. So this is what it will look like. 1, 2, 1, 2. So we have done on our pleating, and we have assumed we have finished sewing the first, the second one. So when you are through like this, you can now put it together like this. You see it? Then you can now confirm your measurements. Okay? Further them back into 4 again, because I want to cut the armhole area. So because this is paper and we have our width is not so long, I'm just going to just assume that we have cut it through here. Okay, so from here you shape your armhole straight to the hem of the kaftan. So like I said, before you do that, confirm your measurements. So it's always good for you to do it after pleating. That way you take your hip measurements divided by 4, and then the ease allowance. So make sure that you have, assuming this is hip measurement here, then you add your ease allowance, 2 or 3 inches according to how you want it. This is allowance, and then you now have seam allowance. So this will be our seam allowance. This will be our seam allowance. So if you have surplus on your fabric, you can go ahead and trim that out to create your armhole. Then after that, wow, this is low. After that, you turn it to the wrong side. Turn it to the wrong side. And now sew from the armhole down. From the armhole so when you are sewing, you're going to leave an opening so you get down, so you can determine how much opening that you want. You can use 17 or 18. 17. So from the end, you just measure 17. You mark it. From this side, you measure 17. You mark it. So when you are sewing, your sewing will end here. From the armhole, you take it straight. You end the sewing here. You take here, you end the sewing here. Then after that, you are going to fold this in like this. You sew, you come this way and sew this side as well. Okay, you sew, you come this way and sew this side. When I'm sewing this, I'm going to show you how I'm going to sew the side. So we do same for this side. And then for the sleeve area, so assuming this is our sleeve area from here to here, from here to here, you simply fold it twice. You fold it in, you fold it again, and stitch from here to here. I'll also show you when I'm sewing the main fabric. And then the kaftan, the 2-pleat kaftan is ready. And then the kaftan is ready. So this marking that I've done, I'm going to go ahead and do it on the main fabric. I'll iron it, then I'll sew it. Okay, I'll show you what it looks like when I'm through. So this is what we have so far. We have pleated one side. This is the first, and then this is the second. So you see why I said don't cut your fabric yet. So when it's time for me to join, I may just have to just sew here. So there's no need to cut the fabric. So like I said before, our pattern, to start marking, you reduce the shoulder measurements, you reduce it by 1 inch so that it can rest very well on the shoulders. So the shoulder I'm working with is 15, which is 7.5. So I'm marking 6.5. Okay, so you mark 6.5. You're going to from the middle, okay, to make your middle pronounced. When you fold like this, you have to iron it so that the creeps of the middle will be showing, and then to be easy for you to do your marking. So from the middle, you take half of the shoulder measurements, you mark it all the way down, so from one end to another. So as you can see, I've marked mine from one end to another. Then after that, you measure the wideness of the pleat. For mine is 5, so I mark 5. Also mark the middle 2.5, so that I can use it as a guide when I'm folding it. So that is what we're going to mark. From the half of the shoulder, you now mark the size of your pleat. If yours is 2 inches wide, that you'll be marking 4. So that's how you mark it all the way down to the end. See, I marked it all the way down. All the way down. And then the next thing you want to do, you get your pins ready. The next thing you want to do is to get your pins. And then begin to fold. So the middle, you pinch the middle like this. And then you make sure that the line that you have marked on this side rhymes with this side. Just make sure that they align. So you can put your pin through. So make sure it aligns. Do you see it? So that is how you are going to pin it all the way down to the end. Just make sure it aligns. You adjust it if it's not aligning. The line is supposed to be at the middle as well. So see that you pin it. So that is what you are going to do all through. Making sure that this line rhymes with this line. See. See. So you continue like that to the end. So we have pinned it to the end. So the next thing, I'll take it to your ironing table. You press it down from one end to the other end. Press it down, and if you like, you can iron interfacing on the inside if you like, but I'm not going to use interfacing. So after ironing, you take to your machine and you sew using this line as a guide. You sew from one end to the other end. So I'll quickly do that and I'll come back to show you what to do next. So this is it. After sewing, you press it down, see, and then you start your next marking. So if you like, you can take it in a little, instead of just starting exactly at the edge here. You can take it in a little so that after sewing, this pleat will cover the stitch like this, like this one. You won't really be seeing these. You see, it's a little bit inside. Okay, so from this pleat, you are going to mark the width of the next pleat, which is 5 inches. Okay, so like I said, you can take it a little bit in, and then from there you mark your 5 inches. I'm just checking something. Okay, then as you are marking the 5 inches, you also mark the middle, because you need it as a guide. Then you also mark the middle like this. So that's what we are going to be doing all round. So you can be marking the 3 at the same time. So we're going to mark it all through like that to the end. So just mark all through to the end. Then after that, you can use your ruler to connect it, making sure that it's on a straight line. That way your sewing will also be straight. You can connect it like this. So anyone that is not on the correct line will not be aligned. So that is one way to check if what you have marked is correct. Just cross-checking. So you repeat this all the way down. So after rolling to the end, you also go ahead and pin it. So just start from one end to the other end. The pleat is resting. This is the pleat. So the next one is going to be here. So this is the middle of the next one, and then this line, this should correspond with this when you fold it. So you pinch the middle like this and make sure that these two matches together. Then you can also use your tape to cross check that you have what you are working with. I'm working with 2.5. Then you go ahead and pin it. So use this as a guide. like that to the end. So after pinning to the end, you can go ahead and press it, and then you take to the machine. So using the line as a guide from one end to the other. So come back to show you what to do for the sleeve. So this is what we have after pleating both sides. So this is the first pleat, second pleat. And then this is for this side. So if you like, you can leave yours like this. Very cute. So the fabric was by 45. So the yardage is not really enough. So I'm going to be adding a fabric here to create the sleeve. So the yardage that will be perfect for this is by 60. You have by 60, then when you fold into two, you have 30, and it will be enough to create the sleeve as well. There's no joining of the shoulders. So for this, I'm going to be adding the sleeve to this side. So right now, we have something like this. So this is what we have right now. So to create the sleeve, you just get your fabric, you cut it, taking note of your armhole rounds. Your armhole round divided by 2. Okay? Because it's a free wear, we'll not be using the regular armhole depth. Okay? So that it will be a bit free. So we're going to be using the armhole round. The armhole round is 20 inches divided by 2. That will give us 10. Okay? So from the shoulder, you just mark where that will be, and then you can go ahead and add 1 inch for seam. So you use it to cut out the sleeve. Then you determine how the length of the sleeve. So when you cut it out, the side that is folded, like it's not joined, that is where it's going to correspond to this shoulder. So to attach it, you want to open it up, but before you do that, you just take note of what you have measured. So after measuring, you notch it. You do same for the other side. You do same for this side. Measure it, and then you notch it, and then you open it up like this. You open it up so you can see the notches here and here. So the piece that you want to add, you bring it out. So you cut it out like this. Okay, this is the right side, this is the wrong side, then this is the right side, this is the wrong side. Okay, so you place right side to right side, you place it on it like this. Okay, you place it on it like this, and then you sew. So you make sure that is on the middle. Just make sure that it's on the middle. Then use 1/2 inch seam allowance to sew it. I'll just use pin to hold mine. When you open it, you have something like this. So you repeat same for this side. This is the wrong side, this is the right side. So this is the right side. You place right side on right side like this. This one will be inside this way. So you place it on it like this, and then you are going to stitch here. So you just go ahead and pin it, then take it to your machine and sew. So when you are pinning, be careful that this doesn't go in. So after sewing, after attaching the sleeve like this, place it like this. This one is the wrong side. So you know the human body is not just straight like this, so you want to create a kind of a curve. You create a curve into this place. You create a curve. So you are going to sew from here. You sew from here like this, you create that curve. They are going to notch the curve. You notch this curvy part so that you can relax. So you stitch from here to where the opening is going to start. You stitch from there to where the opening is going to start. Meanwhile, before you start stitching, ensure to cross check the measurement that you have. Your hip measurement plus 2 inches on both sides. So if you like, you can make yours 3 inches. So depending on how free you want it to be. So you measure what you have, your hip measurement. The hip divided by 2, because right now it's not folded into 2. Then you add 4 inches to that. 2 inches for this side, 2 inches for this side. So that's how you now determine what is left over for your seam. And then you stitch to where the opening is going to be. You also stitch the side to the opening. And then for the opening, you just fold it. I will not be able to fold mine twice, but if you have enough fabric, you can fold yours twice. I'm going to just fold mine once. So you just fold it. You stitch, you cross, and you stitch to this side. After which, you take it to go and weave the under. After weaving the under, you just fold it with the seam allowance that you have left. You fold it with the seam allowance. And then your kaftan bubu is ready. So that will be all. Then you can now turn it inside out and have your kaftan. So that is what I'm going to do now. I'll just mark this shoulder area. There was a notch there before. Just place it where you mark the shoulder. You mark it. That will serve as a guide. So after that, you now open it up like I said before. You open it up. So you see, the mark is serving as a guide. Then I'll go ahead and cut the extra fabric that I'm going to be adding here. So I notched this part before. See the notch. So I'll cut this out now and show you. So this is the piece I'm using for the sleeve. This is the right side, this is the right side. Right side facing the shoulder like this. Match the notches and pin it in place. So take it to the machine, stitch here, do same for the other side. It will be like this after sewing. Okay. And then the next thing, you want to match the back. You want to bring out the back pattern like this. So the sleeve is going to be something like this. After stitching the sleeve, make sure that they match. So for this edge, you just fold it twice. 1, 2, like that, and sew it down. You sew it to this end. Then after that, make sure that the two of them matches like this. Make sure the sides match. Then you now check your measurement so that you know the seam, the seam you are going to use to sew it, the seam allowance. So just make sure you arrange it very well. So let me check what I have right now. Right now I'm having 23 3/4, and the hip I'm working with, mind you, it is the hip measurement plus 4 inches. That is what you are going to use to mark the widest part of the body. So the hip I'm working with is 38 inches. So 38, because now our pattern is folded into 2, we divide 38 by 2. So when you divide 38 by 2, so you divide your own measurement. So the measurement I'm working with is 38. 38 by 2, that is 19 inches. Then from the shoulder, you just mark where the hip area will be. From the shoulder, you can mark your hip area. It's the same thing you are going to, the same measurement you are going to use, because it's a freeway. So this is necessary for, there's going to be an opening on the downside, so it will guide you on where to mark. So I'm working with 19 inches, and to the 19 I'm going to add 4 inches, 2 for this side, 2 for this side. So 19 plus 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have, so I'm going to sew it with 0.5 inches. Okay, that is what I'm going to use to sew. So this armhole, you just mark the 10 inches. The 10 inches will be here. So we have 1 inch seam allowance. So it will come like this and curve into this place. Okay, so you can weave here, and then you can notch this middle after sewing. Just give it a notch. Okay, just notch it so that that place can relax. Notch it like this. Okay, and then you get your pins. You just pin them down with the seam allowance that you have. Just pin it down. You see, there was no need to cut. If I had cut this fabric, I would have had to be joining it back. So it's always good to wait at the end, do all your calculations before you start, to make sure that you don't have any shortage. And if eventually you have something like this, you can always add fabric to it to extend it. Assuming this was not up to my measurement, I can add extra fabric here. So in case you are working with a hip line that is more than what you have here, for example hip 46, then you can add fabric on the side, okay, to extend it so that you'll be able to get your full measurements. Then also take note that the darn has an opening. The darn has an opening. So take your time to arrange this way. So from the down part, from here, measure where the opening will stop. Mine is going to be 17 inches plus 1 inch seam at the down. So that will be 18 inches. That will be 18 inches. So you just mark it. So my sewing is going to end here. Mark the side as so. And then you can notch it like I told you before. So like I explained earlier, so once you join here, you join the armhole here, you fold here twice. After that you stitch from here or through here up to where the slit will end. You do same for the other side, and then when you are through, you go and weave the under. You weave the under, and then because I don't have much, I'm going to use ½ inch. So I'm going to use ½ inch to fold like this. I just fold it ½ inch up to where the notch is. Okay, then I'll just stitch from there, cross, and then continue the stitching to this end, to this end. Then after that, I'll fold it down with 1 inch. That's the same allowance that I left. Okay, once you fold it down, your kaftan is ready. So I hope you find this tutorial helpful. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, like this video, share this video, and please subscribe to my channel if you are yet to subscribe. I'll show you the final look on the mannequin. So here is the final look of our kaftan. 2 plaits kaftan. Look at the plates. This is Joidala fashion guide. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. Let's know what you think.